Last night, Tyler and I were talking over the phone, and I asked him for a topic to speak about today. And so he told me to speak about how to not let time slip out of your hands. And so we got to thinking, well, let's build out this concept. What things slip out of your hands, right? If something slips out of my hand, it's probably slippery, it's probably too hot or too heavy, or something pulled it out of my hands, or I looked away and it dropped out of my hand, right? And it was maybe too sharp, it hurt, whatever these things are, right? So let's go through these things real quick. If something, and we're going to relate this to how time does the same thing, right? Like we always do. Everything is related. Everything is connected. If something is slippery, it falls out of your hand, right? And so what situations are slippery situations? Situations that fall out of hand. I don't know why that was funny. Any type of situation or circumstance that is difficult to grasp, so you don't know what exactly is going on, right? Sometimes when you allow yourself to stay in the fog, to stay in the unknown, those are difficult times. If you're watching a movie because you know that there's things you have to do, but you just haven't nailed down exactly what it is that you need to do, that's a slippery situation because it's easy to let that slide because you don't know exactly what it is, right? Another slippery situation is one that you kind of want to be slippery, you don't really make it that difficult for it to not happen. So, you go and like, let's say you're trying to, the easiest thing to describe is like a diet. So let's say you're trying to be on a diet and you go out and get food for your cheat day, right? And you're like, I'm only going to eat it on my cheat day. And you just set it in the kitchen cabinet, right? You're going to see that every single time you walk in there. It's pretty easy to fall into that trap because you've made it easy for yourself, right? So those are slippery situations. What else will slip out of your hand or fall? Something that's too heavy, right? And so you can think of this like an activity or a skill that you want to learn, but is not within your ability right now. Something where you have the desire, but not yet the ability, right? Which is good to have the desire, but it's necessary to have the ability. And so what are these types of situations? Sometimes focus, like that's the main one that comes to mind. If you want to write a book, you have to stay focused for a very long time. But a lot of people can't stay off their phone for more than 10 minutes. So then throughout the day, you're conditioning yourself that it's okay to not be focused. Well, then now you don't have the ability to stay focused for a long period of time, which is necessary to do this thing that you want to do, right? You have the desire, which is good, but the ability is necessary. So what's the solution to time slipping out of your hands because something is too difficult to hold, too heavy, is you break it into smaller pieces, right? You lift it one piece at a time. And so maybe slowly over time, you'll get stronger if you first start focusing for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30, an hour. What that requires though is that you slowly move up. And a lot of people are not willing to do that step, right? Okay, so what else slips out of your hand? You've got slippery, you've got heavy, something that's hot, right? What were we saying? This is the thing where it was painful, right? So I'm thinking of like a hot potato. If someone throws a hot potato in your hands, it's a little bit painful, and so that's why you throw it out of your hands. And so what's painful? It's something that's, difficult to admit, or something where you have to humble yourself, right? When you have to start a new skill. So, one side of that is it being difficult, but the other side is saying that I'm not good enough, right? I could be better. I have to be better in order to take on this thing. I was in the wrong, whatever it is, like the sunk cost fallacy, I started going towards this thing, but it's not going to serve me well in the long term. Maybe that's like one piece of it. Well, what else? Things that are difficult to hold on to. Oh, no, this was the main one. Something pulls it out of your hand. That's how time slips away. So then easiest thing I can think of is social media, right? The thing that you're holding in your hand is not grabbing your interest enough that another thing would pull your interest away from this thing, and then it slips out of your hand, right? So I don't know. This is an attempt at trying to get better at extracting, at what's the word? Thinking abstractly. And so hopefully some of that is helpful. That if you want to prevent time from slipping out of your hands, you need to make it less slippery, so easier to hold on to. You need to make it less heavy, easier to hold on to for a longer period of time. Less painful, less difficult. And then you need to eliminate other distractions. And so this is, a lot of that is in Atomic Habits and everything like that. But hopefully this is like a refreshing perspective that whenever you have a challenge that you're confronted with, relate it to something else that exists in the world, because everything is related. And so then if time is slipping out of your hands, that phrase is probably a phrase because it's a metaphor for what happens in real life. Things slip out of your hand. And so it's related through the metaphor. So now you can connect it to the metaphor that's related to with real world examples of what happens with that metaphor. And then you can extract the information from that and pull it over here and use it as a way to prevent losing time in this space. You see what I mean? And if you're an author, this is a new cycle of ways to get new information. It's an infinite cycle because the world is infinite. So you can just always be extracting information. It's pretty cool. But yeah, that's it. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, us.